Next up, we have my spoiler review for Billy Summers by Stephen King. So I've got my handy-dandy notebook here to help guide me in what I want to discuss about this book. And it looks like a lot of this, for this particular one, is just quotes that I pulled from the book. So I guess we'll be starting this one off with some quotes. But some of the quotes I think are a little spoilery. So, yeah, I think some of them are a little bit spoilery. So I'm going to do the non-spoiler section of this review first, and then we will hop into some spoilers. So this is one of the newer releases that is a Stephen King book. It's also only the second fictional book I have read by Stephen King. I've also read On Writing by Stephen King. And I've read Under the Dome. Under the Dome is the only other fiction one that I've read from Stephen King and finished. So, yeah. Billy Summers. He has to write a novel to have an alibi for a hit job. I love it. He's such a great character. That's like the only non-spoiler thing that I had put on here. But yeah, that's exactly what happens. He is hired to be a hitman to take this person out, and he is fine with killing bad guys, but he's kind of gotten to the point where he's ready for retirement. He's done being a sniper. He just wants to relax and chill out. But of course, that doesn't happen. Therefore, we have this gigantic, like, 600-page book. And I will say, so non-spoiler stuff, alright? I'm gonna keep it non-spoiler for the first part. So, I liked Billy Summers. I thought that he was funny, he was crafty and smart. He wore different personalities in order for people to have certain receptions of him, which would allow him to carry out his jobs. So, that part, the whole setup of him trying to formulate these different personalities and pretend to be like literal different people in order to have an escape plan afterward was really interesting to read about. I will say that once he meets the side character, I believe her name is April, the whole story kind of like goes off the rails, and I'm like, what is going on here? This is not linear anymore. I mean, it is linear and that stuff is taking place in order, but you could definitely tell that Stephen King is a pantser and not a plotter, because it just didn't make sense for there to be such a dramatic shift from part one of the story to part two. I think he just got to the end of the initial conflict, which was, bad guy takes out another bad guy. And then I will tell you a little bit of a spoil, which is just like what sets off the second part of the book, which is that he does not get his payment. All right. So then he's like, okay, I need the rest of my payment. So he is going to go get his coin. And so that's what sets off the second part of the book. But yeah, keeping this non-spoilers. But yeah, I just felt like it went off the rails at the halfway point. I was like, what is going on here? It also has a character who faces a sexual assault, and he kind of like takes her under his wing. But oftentimes it felt like Stephen King was virtue signaling. I'm like, why did you have to include that element in the story just to show that Billy Summers is not just a criminal? He cares about women. And I'm just like, but you also have Billy Summers go in a back room and masturbate thinking about her. And he's like, but I can't touch her because that would be wrong. And I'm like, yeah, it would be wrong. And you're a 40-year-old man and she's like 20. Keep it in your pants. You shouldn't even be having those thoughts about this 20-year-old woman. Okay? They do form this friendship, and I think the friendship is nice, and it is a little bit of a protector type situation where he's very protective of her, and they care about each other. I'm fine with that. There's nothing wrong with being friends with someone that's twice your age. But entering into a sexual relationship when you are still a very, very new adult, and also this person was like sheltered, they did not have a lot of experience before this incident happened, and so it's like you still kind of view her with childlike innocence, and then she's being introduced into his world that's full of violence and killing and all this other kind of stuff. And he's aware of this, and he doesn't want to like corrupt her with all of the violence, because it would be very easy for her to get involved in that and want that lifestyle for herself. So yeah, that's kind of all I can tell you, with giving you a little bit more than the synopsis shows, but not really giving you spoilers. So now I'm going to get into the spoils. I'm going to tell you the scenes that I really liked that I don't talk about in here, and then I am going to read the quotes that I picked out because I think there's some good ones on here. I guess I can give you a couple that doesn't have anything to do with spoils if they're kind of in order and I can point them out. So, bad people should pay a price, and the price should be high. Billy doesn't care if it rains, sleets, snows, or poops bananas, but of course it didn't say poops. Oh man. When I was writing, I forgot to be sad. I forgot to worry about the future. I forgot where I was. I didn't know that could happen. The next one is a big spoiler, so I can't read that one yet. You make your plan and hope the stuff you didn't foresee won't show up to bite you in the butt. But of course, it says the A word. I put in here that my favorite part... Yeah, I'm going to tell you about my favorite part of the story, but it is a spoiler. It's a big spoiler, so I can't tell you that yet. Oh, man. And then I already talked about the sexual assault. That was like a little bit of a spoil, but it sets up the second half of the book, so I feel like that should be included when talking about it. But Billy doubts that any woman ever heals completely after being the R word. It leaves a scar, and he guesses that on some days the scar aches. He guesses that even 10 years later, 20, 30, it still aches. Now he understands, he never did before, never even considered it, that any writer who goes public with his work is courting danger. It's part of the allure. Look at me, I'm showing you what I am. He thinks writing something a lot. I don't know what that says. A kind of something one. You fight with yourself. The story is what you carry, and every time you hold it, it gets heavier. What I know is something like him, or what I know is men like him are above justice in most cases. But not above the kind I gave him. I think that's what it says, which refers to my favorite scene in the book, which I will tell you when we get to spoils. He has no problem killing people. Oh, no. He has no problem with bad people paying him to kill bad people. He basically sees himself as a garbage man with a gun. I thought that was cool, garbage man with a gun. Is killing for honor better than killing for money? Probably not. But something. But that was something. I don't know what it says. Y'all, you see, I wrote it all with a calligraphy pen, and sometimes the ink just kind of gets jumbled, so I was like reading these sections. And because I was writing it over wet marker, it just was like bleeding. But anyway, now we're going to get into the spoilers. I'm going to tell you my favorite scene. Are you ready? Are you ready? I hope so. Spoils are coming in 3, 2, 1. All right. So Billy finds the people that attacked her, and he goes and he has them crying because he's like, got a gun, and they know he's going to try to kill him or something. And so when he determines that, they've kind of learned their lesson, he has them call her and apologize and say that they're never going to do anything like that again. And the thing is that he asked her beforehand, like, what do you want to happen with these guys? And she said, well, for the 2, I don't really know. Like, I don't want them to ever do that again, but I don't really know. But when it comes to the 3rd one, like, I want to make him pay. Because he was the one that was like, penetrating, whereas the other ones were doing other stuff to her body, but they weren't doing that. And so anyway, he goes and when the third one comes home, the other two are just like scared out of their minds and they feel bad about it. Like they actually have remorse. When the third one comes home, which was like the big guy that did this, the main person that did this, he gets a mixer tool, like the little metal thing that you put on a mixer that stirs, like the metal. It's not a spoon, but it's like, it's got gaps in between it, all right? A mixing thing. I hope you know what I'm talking about. He gets one of those. He has the guy lay over the bed, butt naked, and then he takes pictures of him jabbing this thing up this guy's butt. And it's like, if you ever try to tell anyone what happened here, all I will do is I will release all of these pictures so everyone will know that you were my little B word. Because that's how he was treating the girl. And so I like it when bad people like that get their due. Now, does this make Billy as bad as the person? I don't think so, because I think that if you do that to someone else, you deserve what you got coming from you. Whether that's the death penalty, or which I don't know that anyone's ever given the death penalty for that, but I honestly think they should get more jail time for that than like having drugs in their possession or something like a 5-year sentence is nothing compared to the lifelong effects that it has on the person you did that to. So I'm just like, no, you should have life in prison automatically if you do that to someone else, or you should get the death penalty. If you're going out and you're like violently doing that to people, you need to have the death penalty. That's just, I don't care if you die, if you're that kind of person. That's just how I am. I'm just like, that is justice. That is justice. I feel like that is a crime worthy of death. Yes, I do. I do. Keep it in your pants, okay? Oh my gosh. So, that was my favorite scene in the book. And maybe that makes me a little sick and sadistic, but I don't care because that was my favorite scene. Now we're going to get into the biggest spoiler ever, which is who in the world dies in this book, okay? So if you don't want to know who dies, like, I know how I am. Sometimes I'll watch the spoiler section, but I still want them to warn me if someone's going to die, because that's like the ultimate spoiler. So I am going to give you the ultimate spoiler, okay? I'm going to tell you who dies in 3, 2, 1. Billy Summers dies! The main character dies, okay? And then the girl, April, Amber, whatever her name was, she takes over writing his story. So he had to start writing a story as his alibi for being in the location where he was going to take out this guy. And so he started writing his own life story, and he had changed people's names. And then once the mission was over, he changed their names to the real names. And then he let her read it. So she was the first person he let read it. When he was writing it in the hotel on the computer that they provided with him, he kind of wrote it as like the dumb version of himself, because he does have this dumb version that he tries to present so that the hitmen don't get intimidated by him, think that he's like super smart, and then try to take him out, which winds up being what happens in the book anyway, is they're trying to take him out. And then he takes out the guy that put in the order for the hit, and that guy's like mom or something didn't like that, he like hurt her son, so she wound up killing him. So it's like this grandmother type woman that winds up shooting him, and he dies because he can't go to the hospital, because if he goes to the hospital, they're going to find out that he was the one that killed this other guy, and so it's just a whole big mess. So he dies, and then she takes over writing his story, and so in that she says, I want you to still be alive, and in the story you are and always will be. So there's 2 versions of this story. There's the story that she finishes writing so that she can like publish it, where he kind of like walks off into the sunset, I guess you would say, and he's alive and he's fine. and they part ways because he doesn't want her to get involved in that lifestyle. And then the other version is that he dies. And yeah, that's what happens. So I liked it. I think I gave it like 3 stars. It was not my favorite book. I felt like, again, you could definitely tell that it was pantsed. And sometimes that works in a book's favor, and sometimes it doesn't. And I feel like it did not work in this book's favor. But it was still an overall enjoyable story. So yeah, if you want to read a more so like crime thriller with an ex-military sniper hitman, then I think you should definitely check out Billy Summers by Stephen King. And yeah, if you're interested in like gore and horror, you're not really going to see that in here, except for like the sexual horrors and the stuff that he does to get revenge on her behalf. Oh, also, I need to tell you, there's this whole section that just felt so weird, and it's where this guy is like a pedophile, and so they want to lure him to take him out, and they do this by dressing her up like a 14-year-old girl and having her do like sexy yet innocent poses, and then the guy like has her lift her skirt and everything to show the underwear whenever she's being presented to him, and I'm just like, I feel like if I had just been assaulted, I would not put myself in that position to be oogled by a pedophile. I just don't think I would put myself in that situation. I feel like that's an odd response. But at the same time, she knows that he's a bad guy, and that by putting herself in this uncomfortable situation, that they'll be able to take him down. So in that way, it's actually an empowering move. So it's just weird because it's like, okay, I feel like he shouldn't have asked her to do this, even though she chose to do it. And I do feel like she was willing to do this. She wanted to do this. It still put her in a very uncomfortable situation. And so I'm just like, Billy, why? Why? Could you not have used anybody else for this? And then she winds up shooting the dude. But she doesn't kill him. She like shoots him in the leg or something. So then he takes the gun and he kills him. And I'm thinking he did that because maybe she hit like an artery or something. And he didn't want her to live with the knowledge of having killed someone. So he made sure that his wound was what ended his life and not the wound that she gave him. So yeah, I liked the story. It was good. I don't know. It was good. But yeah, that's all. That's all I can tell you about Billy Summers. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read this book, or if you've read other Stephen King books. What do you think about this one? Did it feel wildly different? Was there lots of similarities in tone, writing, that sort of thing? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!